All aboard! Hello and welcome to a newest edition of Shaky Hands Shed, and today we'll be tackling a hornby towed brake van. Please subscribe if you're enjoying what you're watching. It'd be most good of you. Even better, hit the bell icon for notifications. Anyway, today we're taking the towed brake van from this eBay. Job lot of 6 I got for £10.50, which even with my shaky maths makes about £1.80 it cost me, divided by the lot of them. Anyway, first we're starting off with a little bit of umbrella white. I've already scraped some off that was applied badly. But here we go, just picking out the handrails. They weren't done good in the first place, so they're fairly messy. And as you can see, it looks like it's been in a smoky house. And this was what we can call deliberate mistake number 1. You'll find out soon why. But what I'm doing here, I'm cutting down a bit of brass tubing that I have, because the stovepipe was missing on the roof, so I've cut down appropriate gauge brass tubing. And here, where we're starting off painting, I've just shown we're using a oil paint black. As it goes, I'm using Winsor & Newton, but don't go to big expense if you don't have to. They're available in sets from places like, oh, what's the name, The Works do sets of them, and cheap price. I guess what I'm saying is, don't spend a lot of money if you don't have to. And what we're doing here, we're rubbing off the black. And what it's giving is an effect of having some depth in the overall scheme of things, bringing out the details a bit more. But as you can see, the example I set off with, it looked like it had been in a smoky house, which in some ways aided towards the weathering, and in other ways didn't, because it was damage I had to cover up. And if you're using subtle weathering, it doesn't help. And anyway, there we go, we're getting closer to it being wiped off. You can see it's dropped down in between the planks, gone in all the edges. And if you do it side to side on the roof, because the roof has a bit of a curve, so it'd run down the sides. And there you are, there's the effect we've aimed for. So it brings out detail. And there we go. The stovepipe's reinstated, so it's already starting to look quite a bit better. I've done on the inside of the brake van here with a bit of a black wash. I weakened it a bit because it's harder to work with, so I'm rubbing it off with a Q-tip so the inside gets done. And rubbing down there on the edges, the shelving where people would have leaned. And next up, we're using a white oil colour. Just dab it on at random. This wasn't very random as it goes, but hey ho, or whatever. And what you do, I just scrub it in with you get an old brush that's splayed out a bit, and it dabs it around a bit, sort of like in between a stiff brush and a mop. And it goes on a bit random, more random now. But what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna spread it out a bit and also drag it downwards so it does rain streaking, but also a bit of fade. And I'd get a bit of a bigger brush more towards a softer mop, and there we're using a Tamiya weathering set, and I'm using B, and out of it I'm using the rust and the soot. Just to give a bit of a covering. And really I'm not showing it, but I sprayed it in a Vallejo, or Vallejo, however you want to say it. I used a clear polyurethane varnish. I used satin as it goes, but I'd have probably been better off using matte for a bit of the porous finish, so the pigments gripped better. But yeah, we're to judge. And just doing it a side to side motion. And at this point, what I'm using the AR model colour, and it's a dark grey. It doesn't have to be a particular colour. It doesn't even have to be the AR. You can use anything you want. You can even, if you wish to, get a cheap set of paints from the works, buy a cheap set of acrylics, and you can mix them to whatever colour you want. And at this point what I'm using is the AR premium varnish, and I've added a little spot, a very tiny spot of Umbro weathering powder, and I think it's the rust, but with hindsight I'd have preferred a darker colour. But when you mix this in with an acrylic varnish if you want, or even a turpentine type of varnish to get it towards a sort of wash, and you can do brush on effects like rain streaking, and what I want is the effect of the rust from the stovepipe going down the roof from when it's been raining. And you can shuffle and play about with it really to your heart's content. I didn't employ a Q-tip, but I probably could have done, to be fair. And at this point I'm using Vallejo Panzer Aces, and this one's called Track Colour, although any dirty grey brown will do. I think Panzer Aces means it's meant to be tank tracks, but it's a similar sort of thing to the under chassis of railway vehicles, where you get all the metal and mud and rust and steel, all sorts blended together to give one sort of colour. And there we are, that's looking decent now. We're getting halfway there. Starting to look good. And top tip of the day, when you have paint left in your airbrush, buy a load of Vallejo, like dropper bottles off eBay. they're only cheap, whereas paint's quite expensive, and you can save your paints in them. And there you know, you have, next time when I'm ready to go and I'm weathering one, I have it ready mixed in the bottle to go straight into the airbrush. Bish bash boosh, happy days. Next up we're using a Citadel colour, and it's from the technical range and it's Typhus Corrosion, and I'm just painting it on the fire smokestack and painting it round the chassis. I could have done a bit more thorough. When I look back and look at me turntable shot later, I could see I could have been a bit more, took me time and got it right, but hey ho, it's just a rough effect. At the end of the day it looks a lot better, and the next colour you dry brush over the top of Typhus Corrosion is Riser Rust. They're made to go together and they do quite a good effect. They're intended for the smaller figures, but it's a good rust effect. So for our modelling needs, to be all honest, completely honest and totally fair, the Citadel range has some astounding effects paints that we can employ, and I've got a lot of them because I already paint Citadel miniatures, which there'll be a video coming up on that in a bit. It'll be an Halloween special. It'll be not to be missed, I should say. So that'll be worth subscribing for in itself. Anyway, here I'm using Umbral weathering powders. While saying that, I used other weathering powders as well as Umbral as well, but I'm going to do a separate video in the future showing how to use artist pastels and that instead. You can get a set cheap from artist shops. Certainly a lot more cost effective than buying all the singular ones like, and at the end of the day that's all Umbral weathering powders is anyway. It's like powder pigment. That's all. They call it weathering powder, but all it is really is artist pigment. And there we are, we're finishing off with some Vallejo clear varnish just to finish it off. Spraying it on and it's a bit of protection, and it tones it all visually down simply, so it all looks good. Anyway, here's a reminder of where we started. A cheap £1.80 hornby brake van from a job lot of wagons I got on eBay, and cost effective way to get them, I suppose. They'll not all be what you want, but there'll be one or two that you want and you can play with others. Anyway, here's where we finished up. A lot more model like rather than the hornby offering, and also there's a brake light model, a tail light modelled on it, or a tail lamp, whatever you want to call it, and there's a box modelled underneath and it's begging. I don't know whether Hornby ever did it, but it is begging to, it's got metal wheels, so it's begging to have pickups put on, and an LED bulb in it for a tail light. It's just asking for it. And overall, on all these cheap eBay self-offerings and stuff, it's just having patience and that, and you can make some nice models. Anyway, thank you for watching. Take care out there, and meet you in my next video. Thank you to all my subscribers. Thanks to all that aren't, and all the ones that aren't. Why aren't you? It's free. I'll never charge. Bye for now. And as they say in Lancashire, tatty pie everybody. Tatty pie.